It's just not going to go there. It's not going to work with you.
We have to sit here for 15 minutes.
Welcome to another episode of Muscle Matters, because, Ed, muscles do matter. I mean, it's a really great thing. So today's episode, we're going to be talking about the evolution of speed training. We're going to be leaning on Ed's expertise here. Ed went to a lot of these Nike camps when he was in a speed coach, right?
Right.
So he's been with the best of the best in the cutting edge, and he's going to really help us understand the evolution of sports science. Be right back. Muscle Matters. Welcome back to another episode of Muscle Matters. I'm sitting here with Ed. Ed, what I was going to ask you, and if you guys aren't familiar, Ed's nickname is Buzz Lightyear. Did you see the interactive Buzz Lightyear doll?
I did not. Thanks for just bringing it up on me.
Goodness, bro. Oh my, that thing is so cool. You know, like you've seen the Transformer one, right? Buzz does the same thing.
Oh, nice.
Oh, it talks to you, it dances, it moves, it shoots its laser.
The last thing Steve needs, another toy.
It reaches over and grabs his laser.
Right.
Bruh, don't let me win the lotto. I'm buying you that and Woody so you can have it run around the house.
Exactly. Yeah.
So today we're going to talk about the evolution of training and how far it's come. We're going to put up a couple fun videos and then we're going to roll off right off the videos. And if you guys have questions, please jump in and ask questions. Because a lot of the things you have, I mean, everybody's got a question, but the man's going to have the answer. Ask away for your child, your children, your nephew, your cousin, your brother, whoever might be playing sports. And let's kick off these videos.
Cause you're a sky full
that is some high quality training right there, buddy.
Love the helmet.
I thought I had struggled with those things.
Somebody this last weekend had those helmets. Willinois.
Serious?
No, not the helmets themselves, but they had their helmets. They were painted and they looked like leather. Uh-huh. They were doing a homage to Red Grange, I think it is.
Okay.
And that's because that's where they played, and the uniforms were painted old school like that. And if you looked at the helmets from far away, they looked like leather.
Uh-huh.
It was really cool.
Yeah. You just keep rolling the videos. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Just keep going.
Okay.
So yeah, it was really cool.
It was not fun.
No. For footwork.
It was not fun. And for me, it was the dumbest thing in the world is I just didn't pump my arms.
Right.
And that's like the important thing about that.
A few technical difficulties.
Hey. Oh, I guess we're back.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that slide.
Yeah. Nice.
You missed the producer slide across the flow.
Yeah.
Slide to the left.
Nice.
Slide to the right. But yeah, the first time I went to that ladder, I didn't know the coach was yelling at me, hey boy, pump your arms. It's for balance. And I pumped my arms and I had a much better time.
Right.
Running through their speed ladder. Let's go ahead and roll into the next clip. Or not.
There we go.
Now, at 10, I don't remember doing anything remotely scientific.
Well, this is awesome. It's teaching you the basic mechanics of all this stuff. To be honest, you have to, when you're that young, you have to keep relearning it. So what's going to happen this young man, perfect. I mean, he's learning good technique, toes up, hands up, elbows, all that good stuff. But what's going to happen is he'll have a growth spurt. And then your central nervous system has to readjust to all that again. So it's great to learn that he knows the technique. It's great for that. But as his physical attributes progress, he's going to have to keep pumping it and pumping the same knowledge. It's an ongoing thing until he gets to the end of the growth spurt, when now he's adjusted to how his body is going to feel. But every time they have a growth spurt, you have to. It's like starting over again.
Well, your balance points change.
Everything changes.
You
Your
go
leverages.
From, you go from
all
being
that good
Bambi
stuff.
to like, hey, watch this, I could run.
Exactly.
It's always neat to watch that. But I thought it was neat that when he was 10.
Of course, it's great to have that knowledge. I have
Think about when we were 10.
right.
There's nobody was telling us to go out and do these things.
But also the difference, and this is where I tell parents, and especially parents our age, the difference between him being 10 and us being 10. We were outside running around,
True.
jumping,
True.
climbing trees, jumping cars, getting chased by dogs. They are not, and it's kind of in a way, it's a little bit of the substitute of all those things. We were doing it subconsciously.
Yeah.
We were doing it without knowing what we were doing.
Getting on our bikes, disappearing.
Exactly.
Okay.
And these young kids, that's like, people think, oh, this is so new. It's like, yeah, it's new in a structured fashion, but anybody that was active when we were, if you were a 70s and 80s kid, that you were outside running around, fighting with your friends, jumping in the playground on the trees and all that stuff, we kind of got all that by extension, not by design, but by accident.
I remember
Now
jumping off the
it by
roof with a
design.
sheet thinking I had a parachute.
Exactly. Yeah. And now you're doing it by design. Now,
So, I mean, when you say it like that, it makes a little more sense. But I just thought it was cool that at 10 years old, I guess I would have did it at 10 if somebody, I remember Walter Payton, reading a story where Walter Payton was running in sand and running hills.
Right.
And I asked my grandma to take me out to the sand and the hills so I could go run those because I wanted to be
Exactly.
faster. Now that I do remember. So your point is very valid because we just didn't have access.
some of the coolest things that I've learned, that I've seen, the head track coach at UCLA, this person that I'll go to this clinic, and you know what they do? Simplify everything. Everybody can talk about,
keep it simple, stupid.
this exactly the KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid. This and that, and use big words and all. And it's great to know the anatomy, to know the how and the why. But at the end of the day, how many big words do you think you can use with that 10-year-old to explain to him that he's got to keep his toe up? That's it. It's called dorsal flexion, but how much do you think he's going to understand if, you got to maintain dorsal flexion while you bring your knee up and you're triangulate? It's like, keep your toes up, son.
Yeah. Yes.
Strike with the ball of your foot, keep your toes up. Simplify. You need to learn to coach to, also you need to learn to coach to your audience.
Okay.
If I'm coaching a college athlete and I'm coaching a 10-year-old, they're going to be completely different.
True.
You can't coach them the same way. You can't use the same analogies. You have to, a good teacher makes the material relatable
Yes.
to everybody.
Yes.
So it's interesting sometimes to see how many times have you seen the younger coach that wants to, you take this angle and they spend more time talking about the big words and the science than the actual coaching.
Well, that's in all industries. Like
Exactly.
even in my industry, I hear people they use these big doctor type words, and it's like
And that's
you don't need those
great.
big words to explain.
Exactly.
Plain
And
simple.
the best mixture is a mixture of both. A little bit of science with some empirical knowledge. And a lot of times you find that the empirical knowledge sometimes trumps the science a little bit because you have to do. You can talk it to death, but at the end of the day, you have to do. And sometimes it doesn't make sense. Sometimes it's like, there's going to be abnormal athletes. There's going to be that 1% that you can coach them all day long, but okay, one of my biggest, you've heard me, we've had these conversations, Tyreek Hill in the NFL. Yes, terrible running form.
Horrible. But how do you fix it?
One of the best wide receivers in the NFL.
Nobody can catch him.
Nobody can catch him.
He runs like a 10-year-old on a sugar high.
He breaks every single rule of sprinting, and he's still fast. Some people are just built different.
Yes.
What I tell people, and I used to tell parents, especially when I would help with children, whenever we train, we would work these speed camps and stuff, is like, I can make your child's running more efficient But I'm not going to
Can't
make
make your 4.8 kid a 4.1 kid.
I'm not going to make him an Olympian,
Yes.
but I can make his physical attributes the best that they can be within a period of a few months. We can progress. There's things now. There's variables like his effort, his effort, his dedication, all that stuff are variables. I can only point something out so many times, and the athlete has to do most of the work. I tell people, all I do is point the way. You have to follow the road.
You have to have won it.
Exactly.
Let's go ahead and roll into the next one. Speaking of freaks of nature,
Funny part is, he was undersized.
yes. And he walked on.
And he'll tell you he was undersized when he joined the Steelers and that he was not the smartest guy out there, but he was stubborn.
His work ethic. That's why I had him up there, is because his work ethic. He's just bar none. I mean, pushing the type of, that sled work, that's almost 2,000 pounds he's just shoving around. If a man is shoving around 2,000 pounds,
All right.
you're going to stop him?
Yeah, and it's drive. It's something that you can't teach.
Yeah.
There's, again, same thing. I've coached hundreds of athletes, and you have those kids that, they're talented, just in sandals, go under and run crazy. But then when it's time to get tested, they fold like paper because they're not very tough.
I remember when I went to the LA Aztecs tryouts. Or not was it LA Aztecs, that arena team? And I was getting outran by dudes in house shoes.
Right.
And I was fast, and I'm like, this dude's got a 40 and a cigarette,
Right.
and just smoked me in a pair of house shoes.
Right.
But like you said, they didn't have any desire to be an athlete.
Exactly.
The streets called them. Let's go ahead and roll into the next one.
Beneath the terraces that hold up to 70,000 fans, the men with the magic feet master their skills.
Now this
and
is
keep their muscles
like,
in place.
I have this up here because this is old type of training, and this shows just how far we've how far athletics has come from just
70,000
things
pairs
like
of
this.
eyes
Right.
on Saturday.
But again,
And at that time,
all
he probably
has-
was cutting edge.
it all has its application. It's,
If he misses one,
we had to evolve somehow.
Many of yesterday's stars are the managers of today, like Spurs manager Bill Nicholson. He's known affectionately as the Governor.
Yeah, so you got these things. You can go ahead and stop it now. You've got these, the old way of training, and it's you've watched how, and that's why I wanted to have that up there so people can see the evolution. This is where it started from, and you've been around people who have come from being directly coached from that lineage to bring it into the modern world.
Right? This is just my opinion, and there's 100 of them. There's 1,000 ways to skin a cat. Okay, I think in the off season if you're for athletic performance, in the off season, you have to do, we call it GPP, general purpose preparation.
Okay.
I want to be, let's say I'm a football player. I want to be as durable as I need to be for the football season.
Mm-hmm.
And within being a football trailer, there's little subsections, because you're not going to train a wide receiver the same way you train an offensive lineman, the same way you train a linebacker or a defensive lineman. So everybody's got to have a specific goal, but they all need to be durable.
Okay.
So you want to stay as strong and especially for sport, as fast and as mobile as possible.
Okay.
When you get closer to the season, then you do sport-specific stuff.
Uh,
A lot of people, where they get it wrong is these kids that are year-round training football, and it's like, I like it, but I'm more of a, in high school, let your kid play a bunch of sports.
They should have 4 letters.
They should let him play a bunch of sports.
Yes.
It's easier on your wallet, and it's better for the athlete, because
They
it teach
burn
you, how many little kids you see that are having Tommy John surgery because they're pitching year round and because they're training baseball year round. Let them move in a different plane of movement. Let them train the other arm. Let them do something different other than that. And yes, as it gets closer to baseball season, 3 months before, start emphasizing sport-specific training.
Well, that 90 days is almost universal for everything.
Basically,
the
yeah,
90
just-
days to get ready. It's universal. I mean, whether you're going for a diet, they tell you give it 90 days. 90 days creates a habit.
Right. It should be the off season for any sport should be first few months after kind of recovering, rebuilding, and then again start building it back up, kind of ramp it up to closer to the season, and then when you get closer to the season, during the season you shouldn't be squatting 500 pounds. It's maintenance. During the season for football, any sport, you shouldn't be trying to PR on your lifts in the gym or anything like that. It should be
The amount
maintenance
of
work.
fatigue the muscle's already going through.
Exactly.
The amount of, we use big words, glycogen and all these other things that the muscle's no longer carrying because it's beat.
Right.
Especially like somebody like Saquon. Those thighs are taking a beating every.
Now, don't get me wrong. There's a difference between I would still squat, bench, an overhead press,
But you're not.
but you're not lifting the
going to
same
try to, you're not trying to set a record.
No, you're not.
You're just trying to get the DOMs out. You want to get a good blood flow, keep your strength level up.
Exactly.
So you have formidable strength, but like you said, you're not trying to set
They
a
already
PR.
say DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness.
I'm sorry.
Which can be from lifting, or it could be from getting beat up on a football field. It could be from pitching too long. It could be you need to get that onset muscle soreness down.
Now, I'm going to, before we go to the next video, okay, ice bath. That's made it huge.
Kind of comeback.
Yes, and I like the idea, but I think it's slightly overrated.
Well, I think it's overrated for the purpose that people are using it now.
Yes, and that's where I was going with this.
It's slightly done consistently, I think it's somewhat of an anti-inflammatory. Obviously, for contact sports,
Like
for a pitcher's elbow.
post game, getting
Right.
in an ice bath post game.
Correct. For all that, I think it's got an application. But the real recovery becomes afterwards when you stretch the muscle, move around a little bit, get blood flowing through the muscle again. It's somewhat of an anti-inflammatory, but again, the best medicine for it, or the best recovery, is movement.
Because, think back in the 70s, everybody just sat in a sauna.
Exactly.
And we've come to understand the sauna dehydrates you.
Right.
It's good. It has a purpose,
Right.
but it's not a necessary tool.
Again, things evolve, and and when you get to science, things evolve, and you figure out, this is old school, and you used to. Why do you do it? Well, because we used to do it. I'll give you an example. I can't tell you the amount of high school athletes that I train, and especially because we used to have, or guys that are our age or a little younger, and you teach them to squat, and what's the first thing they do? That is the world's. That is the world's worst cue. Look up. Why do you do that? Well, because that's how my high school coach taught me. And then you go ask that high school coach, why do you do that, coach? Because that's how we've always done it. Okay, give me an intelligent, because that's the way we've always done it. Okay, that is the worst cue to teach a new, especially if so what happens if he's falling forward? Look up. Now what? Now you're putting all that pressure on your neck. So it's, things sometimes evolve out of, and don't get me wrong, good intentions going wrong. It's just that's how we've always done it and stuff. And it's a terrible cue that survived for years, that it's man, that's the worst cue ever.
And not to mention, I'm going to jump back on the ice thing. Cold muscles snap.
Yeah.
I remember when I was watching the game when KD pulled his Achilles.
Right.
And as soon as he got to the sideline and they put ice on his leg, I was like, oh, he's done for the day.
Right.
And then they stuck him back in the game and he popped his Achilles. And I was like,
Right.
who is that
If
trainer?
you're running around and then they do that, it's you're done for the day. You should be done.
Yes, you're
Because,
done.
It's not the best thing to go back out there. You're gonna you got to warm up again.
Yeah.
It's
Wait.
how many times have you seen a running back or a player in an NFL team that's got some sort of a lower leg injury or quad injury, and when he gets off the field,
He's on
instead
the
of
bike.
sitting down, he's on the bike to
Yes.
stay warm,
Yes.
to keep the muscles pliable so they'll perform. So they don't just completely, like you said, completely snap. It's, a different, we learned that as the sport evolved and as training evolved. There's things that evolve that are great. There's things that evolve that you could do without an old school still the best way. So, it just, again, I have mixed feelings about these parents that pay thousands of dollars for a 10-year-old to take quarterback lessons, for a 10-year-old to box himself in a role that's, I'm just a running back. How about you just say you love football? Learn to move in different planes of movement. And plus, trust me, if you're that good, you can play whatever position they ask you.
You and I both know the more you level up, you're still going to be a good athlete, but you're no longer that running back. Like, how many guys that were quarterbacks in college are receivers in the league?
One of my best story when I coached, and we used to take these kids to these Nike combines, and they all want to box themselves since high school. It's like, well, okay. So this recruiter from UCLA comes to see you run. He says you're a good athlete, and in your high school you're playing running back because there's no other solution, and you think you're Barry Sanders. But the recruiter goes, I think you're good safety, son, if you come to UCLA. You're going to tell him, no, I don't want a free education because I'm a running back. My dad said I was a running back. And it's like, I give you examples. John Lynch, who is the general manager for the 49ers, who is a Hall of Fame safety, entered the league as a linebacker. Gosh darn it, what was his defensive coordinator for the Bucs at the time? I can't remember the name of the coach. They were really good friends. And he told him, he said, son, you're really not going to play that much as a linebacker here. How about you come over here and I'm going to make you a safety? John Lynch was smart enough to go, okay, this is my defensive coordinator is a really good coach. He sees something in me. And became a safety, and now he's in the Hall of Fame as a safety.
So like you said, this coach is looking and going, you're not a running back, but you know where I could put you to sign, son? Let's go ahead and roll into the next video.
Exactly.
Let's go sled, and then we'll fall back. Actually, let's go football, then sled. This is another one of those, like, how equipment has evolved.
Again, it's very crude, but it's got some intelligence in it.
As I said, this shows the evolution of equipment.
Exactly.
Because now we have these things that we... I'm so used to Facebook, they don't like me. Okay, so that was really crude equipment. And you think about how crude that equipment was, but it's somebody somewhere came up with that idea like Nautilus. I still love Nautilus equipment. And it was designed by somebody that played the sport. So that original equipment was designed by somebody that played the sport and said, he probably had something at home that he was doing he probably was running into something at home and went, hey, I mean, you look at like all these old school, you read about these old school bodybuilders, they were welding their own equipment.
Yeah.
Old school powerlifters, Westside Barbell.
Right.
He broke his back and he came up with that
reverse hyper.
Yeah, because he broke his
One
back.
of the best tools to build your back up.
Yeah, because he didn't want surgery.
Right.
So and it just comes. So that's an old. I guarantee. I can almost guarantee you that's an athlete that came up with that.
Right.
And then somewhere along the line, science caught it.
Right.
So let's go ahead and run into that last video.
James Harrison casually pushing a 1,960-pound sled at the age of 42.
Like I said, you're not stopping that man when he comes up the
Yeah. Coming through. Got to see a running back trying to chop him down.
Yeah. Heck, he's knocking your pulling guard on his butt. He's a casually. I mean, and it shows you how far it's come. I mean, we've got Lala Zados, we've got all these great athletes back in the day, but today's modern athletes are doing unimaginable things like this.
Right, and it's just, again, it's the evolution, and somebody had a crazy idea. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Or let's, again, just like Louis, I mean, making that reverse hyper, it's quite possibly